My sister didn't just steal my husband. She waited until I was in a coma to put on my wedding dress and take over my entire life. She thought I was brain dead in Switzerland, but I just walked into her wedding anniversary party with the truth. Everything was literally goals. My name is Maya, and my fiancé Zaid was the total package, successful, loyal, and honestly fine as hell. We were that it couple everyone hated on because we were actually happy. Our wedding was 2 weeks away, and the vibes were immaculate. I had just picked up my custom-designed wedding dress, an ivory silk masterpiece that cost more than a literal car. It was my crowning glory, the physical manifestation of my happily ever after. I remember standing in front of the mirror in our penthouse, the sunlight hitting the sequins just right. My younger sister, Sara, was standing behind me helping with the zipper, but her energy was heavy. You know that feeling when someone is smiling at you but their eyes are cold? That was her. You really got it all, didn't you, Maya? She whispered. Her voice wasn't filled with sisterly pride, it sounded like she was choking on glass. The man, the money, the life. Must be nice to be the perfect daughter. I just laughed it off, thinking she was just being a typical bratty younger sister dealing with a bit of main character syndrome. I turned around and squeezed her hands. Don't worry, babe, your time will come. You'll find your Zaid soon. I didn't realize she didn't want her Zaid. She wanted mine. She spent that whole afternoon asking specific questions about our joint bank accounts and the deed to our new house. I thought she was just being curious about adulting. I was so naive. That night, the sky turned a bruised purple. I was out running a last-minute errand for the floral arrangements when a distracted driver blew through a red light at 60 mph. He T-boned my car right on the driver's side. The sound was deafening, metal screaming against metal. One minute I'm humming my wedding song, and the next, the world is spinning into a dark, cold abyss. I woke up weeks later in the ICU, but I wasn't awake. I was trapped in the sunken place. I could hear voices, but I couldn't move a finger. I heard Zaid sobbing, his voice breaking as he held my hand. But then I heard Sarah's voice. She wasn't crying, she was whispering to the doctor if she doesn't wake up. What happens to her estate? That was the first red flag, but I was too broken to wave it. I wanted to scream, to tell Zaid to run, but I was a prisoner in my own skin. The doctors dropped a bombshell. My only real shot at regaining motor function was a specialized high-tech neurorehab facility in the Swiss Alps. It was exclusive, expensive, and most importantly, completely isolated. Zaid was ready to sell his favorite car and fly with me that night, but that's when Sarah's master plan shifted into high gear. She played the part of the saintly sister to a T. She pulled Zaid into the hospital hallway. I could hear them through the cracked door. Zaid, look at you, you haven't slept in days. You're a shell of a man, she said, her voice dripping with fake concern. Your company is tanking because you're here 24/7. Maya wouldn't want you to go broke while she's in a coma. Stay here, save the business. I'll go with her, I'm her blood, I'll be her voice when she has none. She was totally gaslighting him, making him feel like a selfish villain for wanting to be by my side. And because he was emotionally wrecked, he fell for it hook, line, and sinker. He signed the papers giving Sarah medical power of attorney. Big mistake, huge. Once the private medical jet touched down in Switzerland, the Iron Curtain went up. Sarah was no longer my sister, she was my jailer. She told the Swiss staff that Zaid was an abusive ex and that he was blocked from all medical updates. Back in the States, she was doing the opposite. She told Zaid that the facility had a no-contact rule for recovery. When he would call her crying for news, she'd give him these fake, devastating updates. Oh, Zaid, it's bad today. She didn't recognize me. The doctors say the brain damage is permanent. She's just not Maya anymore. She was literally killing my ghost in his mind while I was thousands of miles away, screaming inside my own head. She would sit by my bed when no one was looking and whisper, "You should have stayed in that car wreck, Maya. Zaid is finally looking at me now." Every word was a needle in my heart, but I used that pain as fuel. I told myself I would survive just to watch her world burn. 6 months in, and the miracles started happening. My brain started rewiring itself. My fingers twitched, then my toes. I had this one nurse, Alina, who saw me, really saw me, but every time Alina tried to tell the family representative, Sara, that I was showing signs of consciousness, Sara would shut it down. "It's just muscle spasms, Alina, don't give us false hope," she'd say with a sharp glare. Sara was living a double life. In Switzerland, she was the cold-hearted manager of my demise. But on FaceTime with Zaid, she was the grieving, only person who understands your pain girl. She started planting seeds of absolute poison. She told him, before the accident, Maya told me she was having second thoughts. She felt suffocated by your expectations. This was absolute cap, pure, unadulterated lies, but Zaid was in a dark place, and Sara was the only light he was allowed to see. Then came the final boss move. Sara used a voice cloning app or maybe just forged a very convincing letter. She showed Zaid a message from me that said, "Zaid, I can't look at you. Every time I see you, I remember the crash. I need you to let me go so I can heal in peace. Don't come for me." It was the ultimate betrayal. He was devastated, his soul crushed. And who was there to catch him? Sara. She started visiting him more often, wearing my favorite jewelry that she found in my room. She started dressing like me, using my signature vanilla perfume and slowly healing his broken heart with her own toxic venom. She was skinwalking my entire existence, and I was stuck in a rehab bed, watching the snow fall over the Alps. I saw her posting photos on her close friends list, photos of her and Zaid at our favorite restaurant. She was wearing my earrings. She was laughing. She was living my life while I was struggling to swallow water. The rage I felt was better than any medicine. I started pushing myself in secret, doing extra reps when the cameras were off, building the strength to take back what was mine. While I was finally taking my first agonizing steps in a physical therapy room, Sara was walking down a very different aisle. She didn't just steal my man, she stole the whole aesthetic. She convinced Zaid that life is too short to be alone and that they should honor Maya's memory by staying together. The audacity was truly off the charts. She didn't even have the decency to buy her own wedding dress. No, she went into my storage unit, took out that ivory silk gown, the one I had bled and cried for, and had it altered to fit her frame. She was literally wearing my dream while I was living a nightmare. They had a private, intimate ceremony in the Hamptons. Of course, she blocked me on everything, but she forgot about my old iPad. One night, I managed to get onto the facility's Wi-Fi and saw the notifications. My heart didn't just break, it turned into a weapon. There were the photos. Sara, looking smug as hell, standing where I should have stood. Zaid looked dazed, like he was in a trance or heavily medicated on grief. The captions were the worst part. "Finding beauty in the ashes," she wrote. "So happy to finally be Mrs. Zaid. Maya would have wanted us to be happy." I felt a physical surge of adrenaline. That was the moment the patient died and the Avenger was born. She was living in our house, sleeping in our bed, and using the emergency fund Zaid had set up for my surgery to buy herself designer bags. She even took my dog. Goldie was in the wedding photos with a little bow tie. Seeing my dog with her was the final straw. She had successfully deleted me from the narrative, replaced me with a cheaper, evil version of myself, and she thought she had gotten away with it. She thought the Swiss problem was handled. She didn't realize that I was walking now. I was talking now, and I was coming for every single thing she had stolen. The Swiss doctors were calling me a medical marvel. My recovery went from a crawl to a sprint. I had this fire in my gut that no physical therapy could provide. I stopped being Maya the victim and became Maya the ghost. I didn't tell Sara I was getting better. Every time she checked the camera in my room, I pretended to be asleep or incoherent. I played the long game. I befriended Nurse Alina. I told her everything, the truth about Sara, the wedding, the stolen life. Alina was horrified. She helped me smuggle out a letter to a lawyer and helped me access my secret savings account that Sara didn't know about. I spent 2 months training like an athlete, regaining my speech and sharpening my mind. Finally, I told the hospital board I was checking out. They tried to call Sara, but I told them, "If you call her, I will sue this facility for medical kidnapping." They stayed quiet. I booked a one-way, first-class flight back to the States. I didn't land looking like a sick girl. I had Alina help me with my hair. I wore a sharp black suit, and I had a pair of designer sunglasses that hid the killer look in my eyes. I landed at JFK and felt the cold New York air hit my face. It felt like life. I didn't go to a hotel. I didn't call my parents. I took an Uber straight to the suburbs, to the house Zaid and I had picked out 3 years ago. It was a Friday night. I could see the warm glow of the chandeliers. There were luxury cars lined up in the driveway. A party, perfect. They were probably celebrating their 6-month anniversary or some other fake milestone. I stood at the edge of the driveway, looking at the house that was legally half mine. My hand was steady as I reached into my bag for my old spare key. I was about to be the ultimate party crasher. I checked my reflection one last time. I looked like money and I looked like trouble. I didn't knock, I didn't ring the bell. I just turned the key and walked in. The house smelled like my favorite expensive candles, but the vibe was all wrong. I could hear laughter coming from the dining room. I walked down the hallway, my heels clicking on the marble floor like a ticking time bomb. I stopped at the entrance to the dining room. There they were. Zaid was at the head of the table looking tired, older. Sara was next to him, wearing my favorite Chanel necklace, laughing at some joke. Our friends were all there, sipping wine and eating the food my money probably paid for. Is there a seat for the guest of honor? I asked. My voice was low, smooth, and terrifying. The silence that followed was deafening. It was like someone had sucked all the oxygen out of the room. Zaid's wine glass slipped from his hand, shattering into a million pieces. He turned ghost white. Maya, he whispered, his voice cracking like a dry leaf. You're in Switzerland. You can't speak. Sara didn't look happy to see me. She looked like she wanted to finish the job. She stood up, her face twisting into a mask of fake joy. Maya, oh my God, you're home. It's a miracle. You were just what, Sara, wearing my wedding dress, spending my husband's money, lying to him for a year about my condition. I threw the medical records on the table. I have the logs, Zaid. Every time you called, she told the doctors to tell you I was unstable. Every letter you received from me, forged. I never stopped loving you, but she made sure you stopped believing in me. The friends at the table started whispering, pulling out their phones. The tea was being spilled in real time. Sara tried to lung at me, but I just held up my phone. I'm live streaming this, sis. Say hi to the internet. Everyone is watching you lose it. The aftermath was a total dumpster fire for them. Zaid fell to his knees, sobbing, trying to touch my hand, begging for a chance to explain. He kept saying he was lost and grief-stricken. I looked down at him and felt nothing. No spark, no love, just a deep sense of ick. He was weak. He was the man who was supposed to protect me, but he let a snake into our home because she whispered a few sweet lies. Get up, Zaid, I said, my voice as cold as the Swiss Alps. You didn't lose me to a car crash. You lost me to your own lack of backbone. You couldn't even wait a year. You married my sister in my dress. I turned to Sara, who was now screaming about how she deserved this life because I was always the golden child. I didn't even argue, I just pointed to the door. The police are outside, Sara. Turns out forging medical power of attorney and stealing hundreds of thousands of dollars is a felony. Who knew? I didn't stay to watch them get handcuffed. I didn't stay to hear Zaid's excuses. I walked upstairs, grabbed a gallon of bleach, and poured it all over that ivory silk wedding dress. I watched the fabric shrivel and burn. It was the most satisfying thing I've ever seen. Then I walked out. I filed for an annulment of their marriage on the basis of fraud and sued them both for every cent they had. A year later, I'm living in a penthouse in the city. I don't have a fiancé and I don't have a sister, but I have my life back. I started a foundation for TBI survivors to help them keep their legal rights. I'm the CEO, the owner, and the survivor. My sister tried to steal my life, but all she did was show me that I was strong enough to build a better one without any of them. I'm not the golden couple anymore, I'm just gold, and gold doesn't tarnish.